First, I have to say that I was very impressed by the report that Florian has presented, because, and in fact, it's not the first time I'm impressed by what Ashoka does, I have to say, because, you know, when they told me I was a social entrepreneur, I had to look up for what the word meant. And then when they talk about, you know, funding complexity, again, I had to do it. And at some point, you know, Bill Carter came to me and told me about social scientific entrepreneur. And again, I had to try to look at, you know, what that could mean. But in fact, these 3 times, I could see myself in what has been described. And that's quite interesting because I'm supposed to be somewhat reflexive, but you know, it's very hard to take some distance from what you do. And so especially on that report on funding complexity and system change, I have to say that, you know, I think what is written in this report is more or less the way we've experienced our collaborations with the Bettencourt Foundation. And the Bettencourt Foundation has been helping us since 2006. Okay, so it's 15 years of joint collaboration that we're celebrating this year. And I think they've very well understood the fact that we were trying to address problems that were more complex than what we could define from the start. So they sort of trusted our intuitions and our first realizations, but they didn't ask us to stick to what they were funding initially. They empowered us and enabled us to progressively expand to other horizons. And I think, you know, that was very visionary of them. And I think it's basically what they help us do is fund projects and the young ones carrying those projects. And, you know, their motto is to give wings to talents, and ours is to try to help talents fly. So, you know, we basically build an environment where this foundation and the CRE as an organization were co-evolving in what we did together. And they progressively decided to give us more money when they saw the fruitful collaboration that we had initiated. And they claim that they've learned, but we certainly have learned a lot from them. And I think that, you know, it's this joint learning is what Florian is talking about in this report. And indeed, I think it's quite exceptional to have such relationship. Indeed, many foundations are, you know, funding projects rather than, you know, an ecosystem. And if we do want to have the massive change that we need to have in order to face, you know, the world challenges and to equip the new generations to face those challenges so that they can care for oneself, care for others, and care for the planet, I think we have to be able to work with founders that understand that long-term perspective and understand the need for system change. And so I really want to be very thankful for that foundation and for all the foundations that, you know, Florian and others have studied, because I think that, you know, they are pioneers. And, you know, we talk a lot about pioneers in science and pioneers in education and pioneers in technology. But I think, you know, pioneers in funding is probably not as celebrated, but I think it should. And we should be able to learn from them and to learn from, you know, their experience and the sort of joint journey that they've done with social entrepreneurs, that they've done with, you know, project carriers that were going beyond the initial project and progressively managed to have an ecosystem perspective and a systemic change that could be progressively seen and would be evolving with the needs of the world. You know, who was funded to prepare the youth for the COVID? No one. But if you were preparing the youth to be empowered and to face challenges, then maybe those youth were better able to face the COVID. And I think that's the sort of system change that we need to have, because, I mean, the COVID is our first global crisis, but it's probably not our last global crisis. And, you know, that when they reach that scale and that speed, we have to empower the youth. And the youth is willing to have this, but it requires an ecosystem that can weave their initiatives and can help them to learn from one another and step on the shoulders of giants in order to see further.